Okay,
I just totally see that.
I assume everyone online can hear me. I don't know yet. We have not got confirmation. Welcome, everyone. This is the first attempt at a historical analysis annual conference. The purpose of this conference, I made it fairly simple, is to explore and promote the use of historical analysis and understanding military affairs. Now, there's lots of reasons I'm actually hosting this conference, and I didn't put them on a view graph slide. But my general sense is that historians aren't very focused on quantitative analysis of military affairs. And at least the US operations research community isn't very focused on history. So, you know, we don't have a home. Those few of us who do quantitative analysis of military affairs don't have a home. So I decided that we needed a home. And that was the underlying reason behind it, because my sense right now, and this may be, I don't know the entire community, and I'm not working in it much anymore. But my sense right now is that there really hasn't been much done in the way of new analysis of military affairs in the last decade or two. It's really been, I haven't seen anything new in a decade. So, you know, it appears that the industry is quiet. And so a major part of the reason for hosting this conference is to start raising visibility, shall we say. Now, historical analysis is a term I grabbed out of, I borrowed from the UK, and they define it. The DSTL defines it as the use of mathematical, statistical, qualitative, and other means, something's blocked over there, to understand historical engagements, operations, campaigns, and conflicts for the purpose of analysis and sensitive decision support to policymakers. We never used the phrase historical analysis. We just did the work and we thought we were doing history or we thought we were doing operations research, and neither community seemed to really recognize us. So we never defined what we did, we just did it. But you know, right now the UK definition is the best one I know of. In a very real sense, I consider what we've been doing for the last few decades to be similar to what the Operations Research Group #2 did in Northwest Europe in 1944-45. They went out there, they observed battles, they observed operations. They then, that was the research, and then they did quantitative analysis or other analysis of it, of what was happening and what they were seeing on the ground. So for example, they took the list of claims of tanks destroyed by the air forces and went out to the ground and tried to chase down all of those tanks that were claimed destroyed, and found that over 90% of them weren't there. Which, you know, doesn't surprise people now, but back then that was earth-shaking enough analysis, and the British Army had actually kicked that Operations Research Group out of their sector, and they ended up having to do all the work for the US Army, even though they're a British outfit. And so, you know, in many respects, what we're doing is similar to what they did, except we're doing it using historical data, or you're doing it from data recently gathered from the battlefield as opposed to going out into the battlefield. I'm not sure we need to define what historical analysis is. Once you create a definition, you've decided what's included and you've decided what's excluded. And so historical analysis is a big enough phrase that I just use it now. I was thinking about using phrases like quantitative historical analysis. There was another meeting about 22 years ago that referred to historical data analysis, et cetera. I think I go with the simplest term at this point. So for Thursday's discussion, because these view graphs are going to go back up on Thursday, we can discuss whether we want to define historical analysis. We can discuss whether this is something unique. Is it part of operations research? Is it part of military history? Is it something like econometrics, you know, historiometrics or something? Do we need our own conference? I mean, I did get a message at one point saying we should be attending MORS more often. And, you know, I mean, I looked at the schedule for the last MORS and there was literally not a single presentation that interested me. So, you know, should I be spending 3 days at MORS and a whole lot more money than what this costs? There was, Center for Army Analysis did hold something called a Historical Data Analysis Conference in 1989, 1995, and 2000. I found out about it 2 weeks ago. Even though I was doing contract work for CA, they didn't invite me. But it was a meeting. The one in 2000, there is a paper. It's on our blog, and it was a meeting that included a mix of people from the United Kingdom, Operational Research Establishment, and people inside the U.S. Army that did host a meeting for 2 or 3 days. And that's the only thing I have found that's similar to this conference. So, if that is the same as this conference, then that was done. Yes, you had one more.
Chris, do you remember the UK DSTL ran historical analysis for defence and security HAAC for nearly 10 years off and on? And I think the funding got pulled about 2016. Something like that.
Yeah, I had never been to those. I was not aware of those actually. I've been living in a bubble writing books. When business got slow, I figured this was now my chance to go off and write books. So if you notice, I've got 5 books out now. They've all been written in the last 5 years. I've been focused on that. This is our first attempt at a historical analysis conference. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Good, how are you? Thanks.
One of the questions for the end of this week is, should there be others? I think by default, the answer is already yes, but I think we're already planning to go to the next conference, but we'll need to discuss at some point. Right now, we're talking about doing another conference here in the fall in 2023. And then in next year for 2024, Dr. McKay has been thinking about volunteering to do a conference, possibly in York, England. And then we would end up also doing one here. And so this might branch into 2 parallel conferences going on in the UK and the US at different times. And then there's discussions over how we're going to administer and run this, which is to be done. And then, of course, if this does eventually build to a certain level, should we be looking at doing secondary conferences, working groups, so on and so forth. At this point, I don't think we're there. We'll have lots of time to discuss the possibilities of this between now and Thursday. We'll end up discussing these issues, whether we should have a board of directors, bylaws, et cetera, or continue running it under the rubric of the Dupuy Institute for now. And then, of course, my original plan was this whole effort was going to be self-funding. So theoretically, I carefully calculated with the price of this room, with 40 people attending, I had to charge this amount to make everything work. Since then, we added another room. We're still getting people in, et cetera. And administrative support is all volunteer. Everyone helping me on this is all volunteering their own time. Independent of all this, I'm still pursuing my own work and my own business, completely independent of what's going on with this conference. The latest schedule is on our blog. So if you look up Dupuy Institute, Mystics and Statistics, you'll find our blog. We've got a second conference room set up that's smaller, right across the way, and that's the Einstein conference room. So for part of today, we got 2 presentations going on later today over in the Einstein conference room, and then for tomorrow we got a full day of presentations in both of the rooms. Now, if the vast majority of people are interested in the presentations in the other room, then we may just reverse the rooms. So, and I'll slink off to the small room.
And confuse the hell out of the late arrivals.
And I think that's it. Next up will be Dr. Sean Woodford. Sean worked for us off and on for several times over the years, and then he contributed a considerable amount of his own time to try to help a previous attempt to get us back revitalized and back in business. And then he's off working for the government right now. But he managed to get the time to come up here and give a presentation that he gave. There was a group called the Military Conflict Institute. And several years ago, Sean and I started attending their meetings. And And we had a sense that they didn't have, pardon me, Doug, they didn't have a clear focus as to where they wanted to go. So Sean put together a presentation to try to focus them on where they wanted to go. And they didn't seem to embrace it.
You do not have to apologize for restating the bloody obvious.
So, This presentation Sean is giving is from that meeting.
Actually, a revised version of the one.
Revised, yeah. All right.
I was on the board of that thing at the time. You are so right.
The one called,
It was a really good group of people.
Yes, it was.
They had, I think they've been out of,
they're
a lot of them have been
the
out of the
2022
industry
pack.
long enough that they had lost focus on what they needed to work on.
I don't know that that was the problem. That's another topic for
Yeah.
another session.
Yeah, under the study and comment.
It's hard to read from down here.
Oh, yeah, it's the second one. Not there yet. Perfect. Thanks, Jay.
I had a sketch.
Anyhow, Doug, glad you can make it. The only
So am I
representative,
thinking.
the only representative from TNCI.
Am I really?
Yeah, I was, I expected the majority of them would attend. I was a little surprised. None of them.
Well, one of the reasons TMCI fell apart is that we had 5 key people pass away in 2